Hi guys, this is Nadia Hilker. I'm playing Magna on The Walking Dead, and you guys are listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and I'm sending you all my love. Bye!
Hello, my name is Cassie McClincy. I play Lydia on The Walking Dead, and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Yeah!
Hey there guys, I'm Callan McAuliffe and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, I'm Lindsley Register and I play Lara on The Walking Dead. You're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through on Talk Through Media.
Hey, this is Ross Marquand and you're listening to The Walking Dead Talk Through. Awesome.
Hey survivors, welcome to episode 155 of The Walking Dead Talk Through, Dead City Edition. I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And I'm Brian.
Woo! Yay! All back together again for
We're
another
here
episode.
again.
Hey, well, alright, well, we'll be covering The Walking Dead Dead City Season 1, Episode 4, titled Everybody Wins a Prize. But first, I just wanted to kind of mention this to those that aren't on our Facebook group and then maybe just listen to our podcast. Megan Lehman from Williamsburg, Pennsylvania, she said she posted, because that's actually funny. So she posted on the Facebook group and she had a picture of her and her child, cute baby. She was saying, I was just up in the middle of the night feeding this baby and literally falling asleep from exhaustion, sitting in my chair with podcast in my ears when I heard Kyle say, hopefully I'll send feedback again at some point. And it jolted her awake. And then she goes on, she's like, I feel terrible. I'm perpetually behind on shows because I don't have much time to watch TV that my 9-year-old can't see right now. I'll eventually get caught up. Oh, so I was just like, I told her, I was like, I'm just happy that she's still listening, and just anytime she does get caught up, you know, we're all here, so she can definitely just join when she gets to it. But I just thank you, Megan. I was like so glad to hear from you.
Yes, thank you, because you don't have to send feedback to send feedback. I mean, we're just glad you're still out there.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was going to say is we're always happy, even when we don't hear from you, just knowing that you're out there listening.
Yeah, for sure.
We appreciate it, because that's why we do the podcast, because, otherwise, why bother?
Right.
If there's nobody listening to us.
You're right. It's like, what's the point?
yeah, you get that point. You get that point some weeks where you feel like Homer's dad yelling at clouds. You're not sure anybody's out there listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I would also like to say for anybody that is listening, but is also part of the Facebook group, is like, don't feel like afraid to like post a comment. You don't have to do the sauces. You don't have to do like go through the whole thing. If you just want to say like, oh, hey, I enjoy this episode, and or whatever you want to say, it's like, please do, because that's why we're here. We want you all to be a part of it.
Yeah. And even if you just want to say, hey, we're out there, or, hey, I appreciate what you do, but don't want to even be included, that's great too. We're happy that you're out there.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Megan, I just wanted to share that with everybody, and so glad that you're listening.
And good luck. Eventually they will get older and they'll just ask for money.
True. Very true. All right, well, we didn't have any feedback for last week's episode, so let's get into this week's episode. We are covering The Walking Dead Dead City Season 1, Episode 4, titled Everybody Wins a Prize. Written by Eli Jorne and directed by Kevin Dowling. Description from YouTube TV is Maggie and Negan carry out an attack, but not everything unfolds according to plan. Ginny and Armstrong each make unexpected contact with each other. Okay.
No, not each other, Kyle. With others.
Oh, okay. With others. You have to forgive me. There's a spot on my glasses. Or a scratch. Oh, all right. Let's get into our ratings. LT, what did you give this episode?
Well, since I have redonned the mantle of the Russian judge, I gave this episode this week a 7.8 out of 10. No plan survives the first contact intact. Since both of you already took the appropriate things that I wanted to.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, Brian, what did you give this episode?
Well, I couldn't help but say I give it an 8. Hey, Neegs, we got a problem.
Oh,
yes.
Simon. Yeah. I think everybody has the same kind of thing going on there.
Indeed, sir.
Yeah. So I gave it an 8. Kibosh that shit. And I was just so happy to see Simon. I think that was the biggest surprise. And just in honor of him.
Oh, shit!
Yes, sir.
I pulled that out from the depths of the soundboard.
Yes. Yes, it's been a long time since we said that one. But yeah. Having Simon on there was great.
It was awesome.
Which I talked about in a minute.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, then let's take us into our listeners' ratings. I'll start first with Dieta from Detroit. Hey, good to hear from you again, Dieta. Glad you're back. She gave it an 8 out of 10. Everybody wins a prize. And trophy emojis.
Okay. Glenn from Toronto gives it an 8 out of 10. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
That's what I said. There, Akbar.
Mike from Asheville gives it 7 out of 10. Cat and mouse and dick.
Ivan from Minnesota gives it a 7 out of 10. Negan. All right. Thank you all for your awesome sauce or for ratings. Let's get into our awesome sauce. All right, I will just go ahead and start with Dieta from Detroit. And she says, the reunion of Simon and Negan. Simon telling Negan, we've got a problem, just like old times. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Not just like old times. It was old times.
Yeah.
Mm.
Glenn from Toronto says, Simon says there's a problem while Negan's planning his sanctuary walker. And she's got pricks in, quotes, defenses.
Ivan from Minnesota says the flashback at the start with classic Negan and Simon was an awesome surprise. We had some good walker action in the arena with Maggie going off. The Croat being so happy to see Negan was very entertaining.
Yeah,
I agree.
Very much so. That was fun. It was just like this fun little I don't know. Yeah, he was just like jumping around for joy, just like, oh my gosh, look, I have like my friends here.
Yep.
Daddy.
Yeah. It's like my playmate. All right. Next, Mike from Asheville. He says the flashbacks of Negan and seeing Simon. Negan saving Marshall. Marshall turning around and wanting to continue bringing justice to Negan. I agree. He's a dick.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. That was. I don't know if I actually added that. I don't know if anybody else did, but yeah, I just thought that was kind of a little bit kind of lame. Him doing that.
I talked about it.
Cool. All right. Well, then that goes into our awesome sauces. All right, LT, you want to start us off?
I will. Like everybody else, I really enjoyed the flashback scene. It gave a little more texture to what had already been discussed. Of course, we got to see Stephen Ogg again, which was great, because Simon is one of those characters, we didn't like him, but we liked not liking him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was cool that they wrote that in there so they could weave that little bit and bring him back.
Yeah, he was an interesting enemy.
He was. And I think props is to the actor as well as how they wrote him.
Yeah.
Because I think that he's part of the reason that, well, I won't say entirely, but he's part of the reason that Negan was viewed like he was to people outside the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
Because however ruthless Negan was, I think Simon was just that much more.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought I put it in awesome sauce that Negan saved Marshall. And for a couple of reasons. Because of all the things that was going on, and you saw the Croat, and he was so happy to see Negan. And then he's going, Negan, I have a surprise for you. And, he yoinks poor Pearlie over the rail there. And what does Negan do? Does Negan step on his fingers and push him off? No, Negan saves him. And Negan makes an effort to get him out of there. And you're thinking, okay, if this doesn't prove that Negan is a reformed man, and of course, what does our single-minded, laser-focused law enforcer do? Is, he just pulls the dick move out and, tries to shoot Negan after all that.
Yeah. That's why he's a dick.
And of course, along those same lines, I will still have to give points for the Croat being Croaty.
Yes.
Because I'm going to go into the other side of that coin later on in some sauce-eye that's a further bit down range from the awesome sorts. But I'm going to go back on my soapbox about the Croat and say that finally we get a bad guy that's got some depth, that shows some planning, that's got a mean streak, that also has a few redeeming qualities that makes him sort of not as psychotically evil as he is. But for the most part, he's a bad guy with some depth and some backstory, and he's well acted, and I'm enjoying him being, our adversary.
Yeah, I would agree. All right. Well, Brian, what did you have?
Well, everyone's talked about the flashback, but I wanted to say how much I loved it. I loved Simon as a character. I always thought it was very entertaining, sometimes more entertaining than Negan himself. And I just enjoyed seeing him, and it was totally unexpected, but at the same time welcomed and seemed very appropriate to the episode. I thought the choice of music that the Croat plays to draw in the walkers was interesting. It was, not what I expected. I expected, I don't know, some kind of metal or something, but this was much more, waltzy, I guess you could say, at least at first.
Could play
and
Easy
I thought
Street.
I thought the Negan and the Croat meeting was also a bit unexpected. I didn't see that the Croat would be happy to see him, and the executive producer there, the showrunner, Eli Jorne, talks a little bit about that in the, after episode on AMC Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And says in some ways, even though the Croat's older than Negan, Negan was almost like a father to the Croat, kind of showing him how to live and stuff like that. So, and you could kind of see that. It's kind of like, Daddy, look what I've built. Look at this new sanctuary that I've built for us. Come and live with me and we will rule together, kind of thing. And I didn't see that coming. I thought he was going to be, more revengeful, and this brought a lot more dimension to the Croat. I really welcomed seeing this because I really didn't see it. And at the same time, I thought that the Croat didn't understand why Negan would save, Marshall Armstrong. And I liked that as well. You could kind of see the Daddy, what are you doing? Kind of thing. So I thought that was really good as well.
Yeah.
So worth highlighting.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, there were a lot of positive things about the episode. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, is it worth more than an 8 to me? Maybe, and maybe I'll change it at the end, but I'll see why.
I'm not.
Yes, I know you won't change your ratings. That's fine.
Hey.
I'm not saying that I am going to change my ratings, but I'm still trying to figure out why I rated it an 8, because I think I liked it more than a typical 8.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would agree though with you that this, like, the Negan and Croat meeting, like, just that was unexpected. But what was nice is, like, we finally kind of got more information and depth in the character of the Croat than what we've been given. You know, we've always been talking about, like, okay, so what's the deal? Like, who is he? Like, what's he playing this whole thing and blah, 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 you know? And it was like getting this kind of like personal, like, insight, and then also having this personal connection that we were shown. That just,
and the thing they did is they did sort of a slow burn with him, building up to what we got. And the flashback to me was just sort of the cherry on top of it.
No, exactly.
Because the thing about the flashback is the Croat didn't understand why Negan was mad.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's that thing of, you know, I did what you asked, Dad. You know, see, aren't you proud of me? I did what you asked. And he didn't realize that he had gone just a little too far.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it was good to see Simon in the fact that we know Simon was all about not only backing the brand, but Simon was all about Simon too. So this was also a subtle way for him to kind of say, see, Neegs, I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for the system.
Yeah. Yeah, and also it was kind of like the Croat is still kind of living that old version of Negan life in the sanctuary.
Yep.
Like, so he hasn't had to, you know.
I'd say he's living the old version of the Negan life through the Croat filter.
Well, no, true. But it's like he's definitely still thinking like that, like nothing's changed, or I guess maybe like just the idea of like having the sanctuary and having people basically under you that fear you and you control and blah blah blah. So it's like,
right, he's
the opposite. He's the dark old Negan, and then Negan's been more like, you know,
yep,
like whatever that word is, like enlightened. I'll just go on, like I put it down at the bottom of my awesomeses, but it was like the callbacks that we're getting in this show is just like really is like a nice touch, because for one thing, it's nice that we're still getting something new in The Walking Dead, but they're also just using characters that we've known and loved and been around and all that stuff. So it's just fun to hear that, like, even though we're like, 2 or something years ahead of when the season finale was on The Walking Dead, but like, here's the Croat who, you know, we never saw him in the original show, but he was a character that they're, you know, they that was a part of the sanctuary. But the fact that he was like talking about like, oh hey, like I was on the mainland, and he, like, I forgot the name that he mentioned, but he was like, oh, and I was talking to so and so or something, and he was like, I heard about the war between the sanctuary and the Hilltop Kingdom, and then he was like Alexandria, and it was just like bringing that into it's just kind of giving us that nod, like, oh yeah, we just witnessed all that, and this guy has been here in New York doing his thing, and you know, it's like it's just reinforcing that, you know, we're in that same universe, and this is not just some entirely new thing, like Tales of the Dead. That was just totally on its own, separate, this and that. This is like we're still in our universe with our characters, and so it was. Just, and
you notice the Croat called her the widow.
The widow, yeah. It's like, oh, you're still helping the widow or whatever. It makes me wonder, like, though, also how much does he know? Like, he obviously got.
It's funny. It's funny that even in the collapse of things, apparently word does get around.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're like too terribly far. So there's someone be like, oh, hey.
Yep.
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah. News from
good old carrier pigeons. That never goes away.
Maybe they have some magic walkies.
Possibly run on methane. Oh, all right. Well, next I was just talking. I really like the outside scenes again, just like the whole atmosphere, and they keep showing like the city in its dead state, and then just like walkers walking through, like alleys or like I'm not from New York, but I mean they're very similar to like basically it's like, oh yeah, just a little street down a side street, down in Chicago. It's like you're seeing the city, and it's really, really fun to like have those little insights. This could have been all like back in the day when, there was the COVID stuff going on where it's like, oh, we're just like in one room and there's two people and that's it. And there's nothing, no background, no walkers or nothing like that. They're really giving us, the full city experience. And I really am like very enjoying that a lot.
Well, and just for you, Kyle, this is definitely Lower East Wacker Drive.
Okay, yes, but it's still
one of my favorite scenes from the Blues Brothers.
Well, it's usually because it's easy to cut off and not have it impact traffic. I thought, and this, I don't know if hopefully I can explain it. It's like, I really have enjoyed the Maggie, like, opening up to Negan, like, and having, like, these little moments where it's like, I feel like she's kind of like, she has moments of where, like, she'll start opening up, like, she was talking about, she brought up this harmonica story about someone from the hilltop that was like whenever Herschel was still like a baby and like they were practicing harmonica and she finally was like, you need to stop doing that at night, and then the guy basically didn't, and so her way to handle it is like when she sent him off to like outside the walls and then went in and took the harmonica and like buried it so that he couldn't have it anymore. And like I forgot what the whole like what Negan had said prior to that brought that up, but we've been seeing these kind of little scenes between Maggie having moments where she's kind of like letting down her guard around Negan and not just, oh, I just hate you, but then we also see like where she kind of looks down. I guess it's like that was later in the episode, but it's like it's like whenever what's his face the guy that is missing, why did I forget his name? Luther. And when everybody's looking for Luther or whatever, and she was like looking at, Negan, and I guess he was like still like, his hand was hurting from that cut, but he was like, oh no, it's getting better. But then we see that can of beeswax that we know Luther had from last episode. And then we do see her eventually seeing that, and then that kind of strikes the whole like, oh, Negan, what did you do? Of course, Negan being Negan. But I don't know. I'm enjoying this kind of like back and forth of like, because Maggie knows Negan, and Maggie and Negan have a very strange relationship where, yes, Negan killed her husband. But then there was also the war that, and she was on the side of Rick. Rick locked him up, and like kept him locked up for, forever. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's this like really interesting like dichotomy between them where here she is on this mission to go save Herschel against this enemy that, was unknown or whatever. And then she goes off on this adventure by herself to go save her son, but then ends up running into Negan. And I just thought it was like nice that she's like at one end, she has now a somewhat of a recognizable face that is helping her do this mission when she's in the city of basically just like unrecognizable, like city of strangers, that she still kind of almost has this ally that she knows how to kind of handle and deal with and knows what he's capable of, that she's not truly just like alone in this whole thing. So I don't know. It's a very interesting like little play where like we know she hates him, but then we also know she knows him really well and knows that he's changed a little bit and also knows what he's capable of.
Right.
and then why wouldn't you want that on your side?
And I think that's the thing, is that it's almost like she kind of respects him for what he does, and she understands that he's not the same and realizes that pretty much he's still the Negan that says if he's going to do something, he does it. Mm-hmm. That despite the fact of the things he's done, she also knows that he pretty much means what he says and says what he means. Mm-hmm. So it's like I've said before, she wants to keep this grudge because, I mean, he killed her husband. And every time she sees Herschel, she's reminded of the fact that Negan killed Glenn. But there's a point where, are you just going to keep dragging that weight forever and ever and ever, even though Negan has mostly made amends for all the stuff he did?
Right. And it's like, okay, you know, where does it stop to where it's like, you know, you went to jail to pay for your crimes, but then you're released, and it's like, where does that stop to being like, okay, well, have you, you know, you did the time, you know, it's like, should that be enough? Although, yeah, it's between them, it's definitely much more personal.
Right. But, and like the time that she got him to lead that group of her people through the subway, it had to be Negan because Negan knew where to go. And, you know, I don't know at that point how excited he was to go along with the party, but he did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even though you had the thing at the train, I think he made up for it later. And it's like, you know, no matter what he does, he can't make amends to make her stop. Because at one point, the last season, we thought, okay, they've kind of buried the hatchet. Everything's okay. And then we're back to square one, start a dead city. So,
yeah, no, right. And that's for sure. I kind of had written down, it was like, it kind of was a bit jarring because of like how she was acting just in episode 1 to where we're at now, which I think I like now because it kind of makes more sense that it's like, you know, she didn't like him, but there's still this history of like, we've also been through a lot together and you've also done a lot to help the group. And like, you know, that it's almost kind of like,
it's not like this happened a year ago.
No, exactly. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of time that's passed.
I mean, if you want to account, you know, apocalypse years like dog years, it's been a long time.
Yeah. All right. Well, the last thing I had was like that scene at the arena where that was that candle that was burning down to like the barrel to explode, which I was assuming was probably like methane or something like that, or liquid something, to blow up the door so that the walkers could get in, that the Croat set. I enjoyed it because it felt very Game of Thrones. That one scene where I don't know if it's like, I don't know what the episode was called. I was trying to look it up, but it's like, I guess the dragon's breath or whatever that green stuff was. And there was that scene that started the whole episode where it was like this candle and it was like slowly, you know, burning down. And then when it got down to the end, it blows up everything. And I just remember the music and all that stuff. It was one of my favorite scenes of Game of Thrones. It was just so well done. But it was just like kind of funny. I'm like, oh, yep, there you go. It's like, here's this, you know, like candle flame burning down to like set off the bomb. And I don't know. That's just the first thing I thought of. So
and I will definitely agree with you. That was a cool point, but it also goes into my next series of things.
All righty. Well, that was all that I had for my awesomes. So let's go into our week.
You're worthless and weak.
All right, first comes from Ivan from Minnesota. And he says, this little girl with the dinosaur so far feels completely pointless. Maybe they do something with her, but she doesn't even talk. Wish it was Lydia instead. That would have been cool.
Yep. So next up's Mike from Asheville, who says, Ginny. If she was going to be bait for Negan, it should have happened in this episode. She's done nothing. She won't talk. She won't even stay still when she sees Maggie. she's just stalking around in the background. Why? What is she even doing there?
Agree.
Indeed.
Tieta from Detroit says the bounty hunter guy arresting and reading penal codes to Negan after he just saved him. You're bleeding out probably from an artery after Croat took a plug out of him with, shouldn't you be trying to stop the bleeding? Thinking, yes, and thinking emoji.
All right. Well, that was all of our listeners' week saw. So let's get into ours. Brian, you're first on the list. You want to take it away?
Well, Armstrong pulling the nail gun at the end. I thought that was just like, guys, clueless to, I guess maybe he'll figure stuff out at the end, but I guess that's kind of typical for the by the book lawman to pull the gun out and, try to arrest the guy that just saved him. We've seen that all before, but I don't know. It just seemed kind of tropey to me.
Yep.
Maggie's very ineffective and something that, I was just like, okay, that really offered no punctuation to the scene. Her F-bomb. It just seemed frivolous, so I think considering, they can throw F-bombs, but, they don't try to do it too often. It's, at most maybe one per show. I just thought that was an F-bomb wasted. It just didn't really add anything to the scene. So, and speaking of F-bombs, I'll censor myself by saying it, but Ginny, speak for Pete's sake. And I used a more colorful metaphor there. But I don't know. I'm getting tired of the mute girl trope.
Yeah.
All she does is looks at Maggie with those eyes, and it's just like, just speak.
Yeah.
Just get over that and just speak. And of course, we'll get her to speak at the, in the last scene of the last episode of this season is when she'll finally say something. Look out, or
seriously.
Or I missed you, or something stupid.
Yeah.
So I just wish that,
or she'll turn out and be like, oh my god, it's a zombie. Like, Howdy,
yeah,
look out, everybody.
Well, I'll just go into mine because mine basically is Jenny. So since you were just bringing that up, it is. Yep. It's kind of like I don't. Like, there was a scene when they finally got out of the arena and they're running through the hallways. And it's like, if you watch her, she's just like standing there, like just staring at everybody. But then like is following everybody running. It all looked weird because it's like, that would be the time being like, I feel like she would have spoke and offer
it's
something.
Just very tropey. Like I say, it's just,
Yeah, it just like
and she'll probably talk and she'll talk like a Wookiee or something,
or something. Yeah, something. It's
get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is like it's taken to like it's almost like they missed their spot of when they could have used her, and now it's like, oh, okay, I guess we're just stuck with her, and it's just it's not playing off well at all.
Yeah, it's not. The character right now just has plot armor, and plot armor for what purpose we still haven't figured out yet. She seems to be just a placeholder for Negan's family at this point.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. So I can't say that the character's really offering me anything. So that's why she's in my weak sauce.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
All right, LT, what do you got?
And I mean, just to finish my thought about Jenny is that she's not even doing a good Aunt May. Right. At least if she's going to be the loved one in peril, she could at least try harder. I mean,
Yeah.
She's sort of doing the wandering off like Carl, but she's not really doing that very well either. It's just like she's there, and just by her mere presence, she is supposed to be the loved one in peril.
Right.
So my weak sauce, I'm going to start off with, was it just me, or did that seem to be the most obvious trap in the arena? And once you sort of get the feeling that it's an obvious trap, there seemed to be a lot of standing around and looking at things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, if you're in the middle of something that looks obviously like a trap, and you're standing there going, gosh, this looks like a trap. Occam's razor, people. The simplest explanation is obviously the most likely. If you think it's a trap and your gut is telling you it's a trap, it's probably a trap and you should get out of the trap. It just seemed like that the only thing that this did was to, get rid of a bunch of people that, we didn't know who they were anyway.
Get them off the payroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
bunch of nondescripts.
Yep.
Ensign expendables.
That's what I was going to say. It's kind of the red shirt trope, except now I guess it's the flannel shirt trope. But, then after you've escaped the obvious trap, then of course you take the obvious exfiltration route, which is through the sewers, which is full of walkers and horribly dangerous. It just seems like, couldn't you found another way out? Wasn't there some other way that you could go other than the way that you sort of know is dangerous and bad to go? Because it just seemed very much like the writers were holding us up a sign and said, now you're going from extreme peril to extreme peril. The out of the frying pan into the fire. And it looked like there was no other option, that they just obviously had to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they did show a moment of, clarity of thought, and Maggie remembered all of her stuff from all that tactical training they did at Oceanside with the shields, make the little phalanx and push through the group. The key to that is you got to move. You can't stop. You got to go. And it just seemed, like I said, the whole thing just seemed to me very obvious. Like, this is what we're going to do. We've got to put them in more peril, so we're obviously going to send them this way.
Yes, I have more about being in more peril later.
Well, and yes, so do I. Because I'm going to point the finger of peril at one person in particular. My next week sauce is since it's already been mentioned, and since Dieta made a point of saying it, just how big a roofing nail got shot into Armstrong's leg, and just how bad is he hurt, and how much blood is he losing? Because if he's hurt bad enough, all Negan has to do is just stand there and say, oh, come on, man, can we just talk about this? Wait for him to bleed out a little bit more until he passes out. Then go ahead, put the tourniquet on him, bandage him up, and wait till he comes to. It just seems like that with that big of a divot out of his leg, that he was going to be in a lot worse shape. And despite his being the tropish, dogged, determined lawman, one would think just for survival's sake, it would be like, well, let me wait till he puts the bandage on me before I pull the gun on him and start pulling out the old General Statute book. And I guess the last thing is I'm going, yeah, the Croats guards are like everybody else's guards. They kind of suck at guarding. Because, again, if it had been me, if I'd have been the Croat, I wouldn't have sent all my boys out. I would have said, okay, if I heard Negan in the parking deck, more than likely Negan's still in the parking deck somewhere. And so turn the dogs loose if you have dogs. Send somebody out to search, and send them out in a way to search that you're going to find who you're searching for. It just seemed like that he's going, I know he's out there somewhere. Oh, well, let me send the boys out to do whatever they're going to do in their old taxis. I'm just going, and you didn't. And of course, I realize someone is going to say, but LT, they were letting Maggie and the Yorkers in because it was a trap. Okay, I'll buy that. But it still seems like that once they were in, you just didn't see many guards guarding things. Of course, I'm assuming then that it's like, well, we'll just let the walkers do what walkers do.
Yeah.
But, for somebody who's like Mr. Nutcase in his sanctuary, I just didn't see much security.
Yeah, true.
And that's all I'm going to week at the moment, because I'm going to what the rest.
All righty. Well, then let's get into our what sauce.
What?
All right, we have a couple. I'll start with the first one. It's Mike from Asheville. And he said, why did the Croat blow open the arena? So did he know the group was coming? If he did, how? Good question.
Exactly. Next up's Ivan from Minnesota, who says, I think I would have went straight for the cage and had everyone take a side and just go to town. Negan saving the marshal guy didn't really make sense. I would have just let him die because we obviously saw what happened, which annoyed me.
Yep. I think a lot of people were annoyed.
Yes, me too, Ivan.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for your what sauces. All right. Well, either Brian or LT, who wants to go first?
I'll go.
All right.
Since I said something controversial at the start, the non-binary character, I didn't catch the person's name, but the one that the Croats like saying how, he appreciates watching the person grow up or whatever, I don't know. I just, the character may get more dimensional as we go, but it felt like one of those like, oh, we're going to make sure to include a non-binary character because we haven't seen a lot of them in The Walking Dead kind of thing. And not really having any additional dimension there.
Check
That's
that box.
Kind of,
Ding.
yeah, that like a checked box character. I had similar kind of thing with originally with the help me out, LT, the non-binary character on Discovery.
Yeah.
What is that person's name again?
I can't remember their name.
Starts with an A. Might be Akira. I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, but I did grow to like that character as we went on. I didn't see the kind of dimension there for that. So, like I say, I think that having those kind of characters in TV is a good thing, but like any other character, don't just include them just to include them. Like there should be some dimension there. So That was my take. I was a bit distracted by the arena itself. My ADHD mind was like, what arena is that? I don't recognize that arena. What arena could it be? So I start looking it up, and I'm like, oh, that's not the Madison Square Garden. That doesn't look like that. What arena is it? And so, I went off on a 15-minute tangent while I was watching this episode today, trying to figure out the arena, and then just finally gave up and said, okay, well, it mentioned something about MLX, control something. And I was just like, okay, well, this is obviously some made up arena, not not supposed to be an arena that actually exists or something like that. But it was just still, it was enough to distract me. And probably would have been better if they had just made it Madison Square Garden or something. And then I could have done my Howard Cosell. This is Howard Cosell at Madison Square Garden. This scene, Negan versus the Croat. But no, can't do that. So
Yep.
Well,
anyway.
And the fact of, this could be PS 85's gymnasium for all we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be some high school or something, but, some big high school.
And I was going to say, for anybody under 40, Howard Cosell was a very famous sportscaster.
Yes.
With a very famous toupee and a famous way of talking.
Yes. Anyway, so I just found it a little bit distracting. It probably would have been better off if it had been an actual arena that could be placed and not, just some made up thing. Because as far as I know, they are shooting in New York City. So why not use something that exists?
Right.
And the other thing, and I was basically channeling LT when I saw this during the episode. They were, kind of like slowly trying to maneuver their way around the lurking walkers that were on the floor of the sewer, and not trying to kill them. Instead of like just, tippy-toeing their way through, why not kill them?
Right.
Seems to me that they had the time. It's not like there was a crowd of walkers that were following them. They were easy access. So kill them. Kill them while you have the chance. Just, reach down, poke your knife into their skull and be done with it, so that when you go back there the next time, you won't have to worry about them. And of course, what will happen is you'll go there next time and it will be you finding either the lurkers are awake and they're moving around this time, or they're completely awake and they're in there and trying to attack you. So it was just a tropey thing that I think, like I say, channeling LT, I was thinking of you as I'm watching it, thinking, LT, you're going to mention this. And I looked through the notes and you didn't mention it specifically. So I thought I would mention it myself.
Yep.
So that's where I'm going. So
I had the same
it's
thing
an
in my
LT inspired, what sauce there for me.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I had the same thing in my notes too. I was like I was sitting there. I think I wrote, it's like, I don't know if they were in a subway or if it was like the sewer, but it was just like, why not kill the walkers?
It could have been I don't know. Maybe it was a subway, but
either way, it's
where it is.
It's tunnely.
Yeah.
Regardless, it was there were walkers there that would potentially present a problem later,
And they
that were easily to be killed, yet you didn't do it. And why?
Right. Tiptoeing
made no sense to me.
Made no sense. All right. Well, LT?
So, for my hot sauce, I want to start off, since we already weaked her, I'm going to whot her now. Ginny is useless.
Yes, she is.
She doesn't talk. She's just there to be an impediment for Negan. And at this point, I don't know if she's even impeding Negan, because I don't know, at some point we know she was off with Maggie, and, she's not even really being a good impediment.
Yeah.
And it's just, we know she's there for a reason, and we know she probably has some plot armor. But it's like, why? What are you doing? All you're doing is you're distracting people. You're getting in trouble. You're not delivering any stellar lines. I just am like, why do we have this person? Because then to go with that, we had the fight in the arena, which basically just seemed to be, as I'd said before, and I'll say it strongly now, it just basically seemed to only serve the purpose of creating some sort of peril, some sort of immediate situation that the heroes have to get out of. And it's just winnowed down all the people, all the red shirt Yorkers that we saw in the background who really didn't necessarily have lines. So they're just going to get sucked into the herd of walkers, issue their Wilhelm scream, and die. I mean, it just seemed to me that that's all they were for. That we had our little core group of people that survived, and all the other people who were just like, whether you want to say cannon fodder, red shirts, whatever. And it just seemed to me that the fight, on one hand, was just to kind of narrow the cast down.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I thought long and hard about this next point, but I have to say it, is that what is wrong with Maggie? Because one thing about it is that Maggie has not been the most Maggiest in this.
Mm-hmm.
I started saying, well, she basically came up with this idea. They had this plan. They go into the arena and it's a trap. It's obviously a trap. They get trapped and now they're in extreme peril trying to get out of the trap. And then I had my frightening revelation that while I like Maggie's character and I've enjoyed seeing Maggie's character in the show, I don't know if I'd follow her anywhere if I had a choice. Because Maggie has a body count. If you look back historically, anytime she's put in charge of a group that has to go somewhere and do a mission, people are going to die.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, so she was at Hilltop and she wandered off and went and started this other group. And what happened to that other group when she was with Georgie or wherever else she was when she was off the show?
Right.
What happened, Brian?
They died.
Everybody got killed.
Right.
So then she came back and formed this other group when Pope and the Reaver showed up. And what happened? Most everybody got killed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Maggie, but there's a trend here. And while I know that, Negan has some plot armor, it's still that Maggie is leading this group of Yorkers. And guess what? Most of them died. I'm just not feeling really efficacious about the level of leadership you're pulling off in the apocalypse here. Maybe it's just the way that the thing's written and it's supposed to be part of the thing, but it's just, we could go back and look at how many times the heroes actually didn't do such a bang up job in getting their people out of places.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rick did a little bit better. But so far, I mean, Maggie's kill to save ratio is not doing that good. And just this whole thing, like I said, the whole thing with the trap and the mission and trying to get Herschel back, it just seems like that either she was just thinking too simplistically or they got caught flat-footed or they just blundered into this situation. It just seems like that if Maggie's leading the charge, people are going to die.
Well, yeah, she didn't stick to the plan. She left her post.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing is I put it in the hot sauce because it's finally gotten on my last nerve. This freaking show is too dark. We've said it about every episode. It's just too dark. There are parts where I understand it's part of the effect and part of the deal, but, would it kill you just to bring it up a couple of lumens for the TV? Because it's just really hard for me to watch.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I wonder, is there something to do with like what do they think? Like, I'm sure, Brian, you might be able to attest to this or not, but it's like when you watch it on your phone, do you have that issue? Or has it got better, like, brightness on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty dark. You have to have your brightness on full tilt. Now, mind you, I didn't watch it on my phone. I watched it on my TV, which did I guess no, I had it last week. So, but yeah, I got a new TV.
Yeah.
So yes, I watched it on my TV this time, but I did watch some of the last episode via phone, and yeah, I had to have my brightness on full, Okay. So.
Yeah, because that's what I wonder. Because like I watched this episode, like we'll sit out on the front porch, but I use my laptop, and it's dark, but it's like it's also dark outside, so I'm kind of having that's basically the only light that's coming in, so it wasn't too terrible. But then when I watch it on my rewatch, I'm watching on my computer, and my monitor's not the one I watch it on. My secondary monitor's not the best, but it's like every time it's like it's so like it is dark. I even cranked up the brightness on it, and it is. It's like I can't even really even make out like what was going on. I just kind of I just read the captions, and I'm like, oh, I just remember. But I was curious if the phone actually like has better, brightness or whatever, that it's not that big of a deal. But
yeah, it's still an issue. It's definitely still an issue.
And they need to address that, because it is kind of like it should just, we're not looking for HDR like, oh, perfect blackness and blah blah blah. It's like make it watchable so we can see it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times they get all in love with the blackest blacks and stuff like that, and it's like that's not the best, it's not the best viewing experience when you are in a non-perfect viewing area.
Right.
It's like if you're watching it on a phone, if you're watching it on a computer, if you're watching it like in a living room, but there are lights on, which, most living rooms are going to be watching the TV with the lights on. Right. So,
yep.
You gotta keep that in mind, and a lot of times they don't seem to.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying The Walking Dead. I'd say the biggest offender that I've seen with this in recent years was Game of Thrones. The last couple seasons of that,
had that problem. Dark, and even on my TV, I was like, this should not have an issue.
Shoot it for a television audience, not for a theatrical audience.
Right. Not everybody's sitting in a dark room where it's like, okay, like, or just, have the best TV or like what, have all the settings correct. Yeah. Anyways, all right. Well, is that all you had, LT? I'll move on to mine.
Yes, I think I will let it go for now.
For now. I was gonna say I agreed with Mike on why the Croat blow up the arena. And I mean, I guess he didn't really blow it up, but basically opened it all up, because I kind of I assume that since they were escaping with these cars and they had everybody basically just take off, that they have some other place. And this is before I saw for the sneak peek for next season or next episode. Because then we obviously see there that there's some unknown woman in this next episode that seems to be in some very nicer dwelling. So it's obviously they had this, what was this arena then to them? But it just seemed like they had been at this place for I don't know, many years. And then they were basically just leaving it all with all this equipment still there. There was that, what they were doing to with the methane, that whole little science project was there. And it was kind of why ruin it all?
The prison. The prison.
Or yeah.
Woodbury. The kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like, I guess they, blowing up the doors and trying to set the trap or whatever. I mean, they just let the walkers basically just overrun it. So it's like, I guess you could deal with that later. But I don't know. It just seemed like they had no problem leaving everything behind, and it was almost like they were just throwing it away just to get back at, set the trap.
Well, maybe they live in the penthouse and the parking garage doesn't have street access. So they would just be able to clean out the arena.
Right, true. Like that, but of course, we haven't seen that yet. So,
but I agree with you.
Yeah, it just seemed very like, okay, let's just all bail and we'll leave everything here and play some music and the cage fighting.
All the cars and the methane factory and the electricity,
right?
And your supply of maggoty meat and
right,
all the other things.
Yeah, it's I don't know. And then actually, Brian, you brought up that one character that he was like saying, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, like growing up and choosing our side." Blah blah blah. It's like they were there to basically just watch this or put the DVD in that did the countdown to play the music. But then it's like, are we seeing them again? I took it that we weren't going to see them again. It was just to have that moment so that the Croat could be like, oh, look, here's somebody that's fearful of me. And like, look, I'm not that bad. And I'm proud of you. You're, I'm taking care of you and helping you, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, I don't know.
I tend to think we're going to see that person again.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting.
We'll see them again.
I just kind of wrote him off. I'm like, oh, okay, that was just that scene. And that was all that was there for.
Yeah.
The next thing that I put on my Watt, I just find the Yorkers were just very blasé about Luther just being gone. Like, I don't know. It always seemed to me that they were such a much more tighter group than that. Because we saw them have that like ritual dinner where they're like, honoring loved ones or just memories or like holding on to, like they're showing their, icon or keepsake or whatever that was. But it just seemed very weird because they were just kind of like, oh yeah, I know he just goes out, like no big deal. It's like no worries about that. It just, to me, I feel like they would have been like, wait, where is he? Why is he not here? Like, it didn't come across as like, oh, this is something he does all the time. And I get that they have people like that one woman that like was like picked up the dinosaur. It's like they have, I guess, people go out to go scavenge and like, or do whatever, recon or whatever, this and that. But I just never felt that I even got that from this character, that they wouldn't have been more questioning of like, wait, where is he? Like, these people are supposed to be like this group that has survived since the beginning in New York.
Right.
That they wouldn't be like much tighter than that. Almost like this is my family, to be like, oh, where's Luther? This is not like him.
Yeah.
It seemed very weird. And so I kind of was like, okay, they're totally fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Because it's like nobody noticed that he didn't say bye before he left.
Yeah. It just, and even if he was against the plan, it was very weird in that sense.
It's going to be one of those like scenes an episode or two from now. Hey, you killed Luther.
Well, no, we know that's what's coming. So it's like,
right. I know. But yet it's stupid because it's again, very like,
it's like on the nose.
Telegraphed.
Yeah. Right.
You can see it coming from a mile away.
Right.
Literally. Yeah.
Oh, I guess, yeah. It just, anyways, yeah, it was just very weird. Or whatsy. The other part was, I was going to agree with like Ivan and the cage. It was like, my first thought came up, like popped in my head of like, oh yeah, the prison, what they would do with at the fence. They would have somebody out there that would basically start poking all the walkers that were hanging on the fence and just like, hey, we're going to thin them out. They're like building up too much.
Yeah.
Tonight, like have
There's
the same
tie into that. Yeah.
Yeah, to like have the same like, oh wait, here's a cage that's basically surrounding us on all sides when we're being surrounded by all sides. We all have little pointy sticks, so it's like, or knives or whatever, that you could just sit there and instead of fighting them out in the open, you could just basically I when you think about that, how like the action of like I just stabbing walkers in the head and then they just fall, they would pile up, but it's like you're still building like a barrier or something that you could then deal with. I don't know. So I thought that would be the first thing I would have done. But no,
you're building a foundation. Like if these walkers were like World War Z, you'd be building the first couple of floors of them to like all climb up on.
I mean, I guess that's, but I guess still.
But these walkers are not so adroit.
Well, right. They're not like that in that way. But I don't know. I guess it's just, I don't know. That would have been probably my choice. And then I could figure out another way to like get out, or at least you're eliminating the number that you would have to deal with that maybe that would have worked. But anyways, so.
Yeah.
And then Maggie and her weapon, like I just felt that thing was just like so. I wrote in cumbersome just because it was like, it was like almost kind of, I don't even know what it was. It like basically was like this chain, and I thought it was like almost kind of like like a magazine bullets where it's just like a big long thing of like. Where the bullets are that you feed into a machine gun or whatever. It just seemed very long, and it was like, I guess, spiky, whatever. But then she's like using it to basically slap the walkers in the face and then like stab them in the head. So I don't know. I just felt that it had very, like, it just seemed very less useful. That it was like, you're just slapping them around and then that's not really killing them in an instant. You're just kind of, I don't know. So it was cool looking, but it just didn't really make sense of like, oh, is that really a good thing? Like, so I don't even actually, because it was too dark. I'm like, I don't even recall exactly what it was. It was just something she just like kind of pulled out and it made a lot of noise, and it was like a metal scarf that she pulled off her neck or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was all that I had then for my what's. You guys have anything else to add?
No.
All right. Well, then that takes us into our sad and aw sauce. Aww. All right. Well, we have one from Renee.
And remember the injunction. Renee from Atlanta says, number 1, Maggie looking at pics of her family. Negan telling the story about what happened to Annie and his kid. And Maggie walked into the room and thought it was Herschel in the chair.
Yep. Which I knew it was not going to be, but it was a very good fake out.
And I think that's it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, then that takes us into our sad and awe. Brian, you want to take off?
Well, I just added this as we were talking about it. I wanted to mourn the death of Lucille, and I put death in quotes, of course, because, we're not talking about his wife, Lucille. We're talking about the bat, Lucille. Mm-hmm. Just when the Croat, notices that he doesn't have Lucille, notice that Negan didn't like interject to say, what really happened to the bat. It wasn't that, he broke it on somebody's head or something like that. It was basically a death of neglect out in some field somewhere, just probably rotted out from the rain and snow and what have you. So,
Mm-hmm.
So we just mourn Lucille for a moment.
Yeah. Now another good little, like, kind of another little good callback to like what we.
Yeah.
It was just, it sets this. It kind of keeps the whole universe and that realm that we know, like it's a whole different scene, a whole different show, this and that. But it's like it's fun to have like these little callbacks like that. Mm-hmm. I enjoy it.
That's all I had.
Cool. All right, LT.
Well, my sad sauce this week is me. I felt sad because I was to the point later in the episode where I'd rather have more Simon in a flashback this episode than I felt really bad for any of the Yorkers that got eaten by zombies.
I agree with you. I wish that I had seen more Simon in this episode.
Yep.
You know, we basically got him in 2 scenes, but I would have liked a whole Simon flashback, you know, Croat origin story kind of thing than what we got. So I think that's probably why, even though I like this episode, I gave it an 8 because it probably had deductions over what it could have been versus what it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Not enough Simon.
Well, that's kind of why I dinged him like I did. So,
yep.
Yeah. 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 That at least, again, it was a surprise to see him in this episode and then getting that. And they didn't like wait either. It was just like right off the bat. So that really made it really, excuse me, that just made it, so much better. It was just like not having to sit there and we're like, oh, here we're doing going into the, arena and doing our mission to then getting the flashback. It's like, here you go. Let's give you some Simon. We love you.
So Kyle, what do you have for sad sauce?
I just not much, just anything too special. I mean, I guess it was sad that we did see in that flashback that the Croat did kill a kid, from the hilltop. And that was sad because that just kind of reinforced the idea of exactly why Negan, tried to get rid of him. And it also was interesting though too that it's like even Simon, like what he was saying, it's like almost they had this unwritten rule or whatever. It's like it's a kid, we don't go after kids, we don't do kill kids. And the Croat was going there, so that was a really fun, like nice little kind of added more. I don't know if they did that in the main show. We knew that Negan, that was kind of one of his things, but this kind of reinforced that. It was like, oh, the sanctuary as a whole, I guess, had this rule. It's like, no, they don't go after kids. So that was good, but it was just still sad. And then seeing the kid that was in that room that was tied to the chair that we thought was Herschel. I mean, as far as I know, it looked like a kid, so it just looked very like Herschel. And
well, it certainly fooled Maggie.
No, really. I mean, it was just a smaller person that seemed like dressed like what we've seen Herschel.
Yep.
And so could have been a fake out. I don't know. So yeah, it was just sad.
So that looks like it's about it.
Yep. So let's get into our feedback.
We can talk about it. Done talking. Time to listen.
All right. Well, we did get a voicemail like we do from Renee from Atlanta, so I will play that now.
Hi guys, this is Renee from Fairburn calling in about Dead City. I'm not feeling Dead City like I did on the very first episode. I feel like they're taking too long. I said this before that I wish it was just 6 episodes and it was over with this storyline, because at the end of the day, Maggie and Negan are never going to be able to be friends. I don't care if he saved Herschel or whatever. They cannot be friends. He killed her husband, her boyfriend, fiance, whatever Glenn was, in such a brutal manner that I don't see how she could ever get over that. It's just no way that she could ever get over that. That is just too much, and they just keep going back and forth with them too, and Negan killed the black guy, did not tell Maggie. Maggie found a dinosaur and was going to burn it up and did not tell Negan. Like, why? Just they moving too slow for it to be 6 episodes. Each episode should be, just boom, 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 boom. Now, I did like the fighting scene when they was in the area, I guess, with the ring, the wrestling ring, but I don't understand why they didn't get in there from the beginning. Like, and then the little girl, I don't understand how she was able to get in that ice chest and make it to across that water with all the walkers, because when Maggie and Negan was headed over there, was a bunch of walkers, and the chest was so small, it seems as if they would have pulled her in. But I understand that, hey, this is The Walking Dead, this is how they do it, but it's just not as exciting. And Negan is, I know they're trying to show the fact that Negan is remorseful and everything about the things that he did, and I understand that, but there's so many other things that Negan did that it's just hard for me to get past those things when it comes to Negan. And again, I just want them to end the series, move on to the Daryl, and then let's get to the nitty gritty. Let's get to what I want to see, which is Michonne and Rick. And then let that be that, because the Marshal, unless it's headed somewhere, I don't understand the purpose of him. I really do not understand. I don't understand the Croat, making him go in the ring and fight the walkers or whatever. And then, because if he felt like he was such a good fighter, why did he push him over the ledge? And then at the end, then he picks up the gun and talking about reading Negan his rights, and like, come on now. But it does look like someone, I don't know if it was Kyle or LT, someone did say that he was going to come over to our side. I did not think that, but it seems like he is going to join our people from the looks of the previews. But I mean, I need these last two to really make some noise, because it's not making any. It, like I said, it started out with a bang, which these shows seem to start out with a bang, and they just plummet. They just plummet. And, I have a problem with that. I had a problem with From. I just have a problem with that. I mean, if you're just because it's not like before where you have so many episodes of a TV show. You only have so many. That's even like with The Witcher, is only 6. And I love The Witcher, but it's like, come on, each episode needs to be so good, because it's not that many. Just go ahead and do what you need to do and let us see what's going on, and then move on to the next. Just move on to the next. So I don't know. I'm going to go on here and try to, I don't know, awesome sauce, sad sauce, or whatever. I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's not giving me what I needed to give me. And maybe it's because I really want to see Michonne and Rick. Negan is not a part of the original cast. So I really do not, Negan's storyline, I feel like Negan should have been gone wherever. He should have went with his wife and his son, daughter, whatever he had, and let that be over with. Because I used to, like on Sundays, when I tell you I could not wait until 9 o'clock got here, I would be just, antsy all day waiting on 9 o'clock to get here. I don't feel that way anymore. Actually, I just watched last week and Sunday's episode on yesterday, and it just was blah to me. I mean, they decent, but it's something missing. It's not giving me what I needed to give me, what I expected out of it from the first episode. So, I'm going to listen to the podcast. Maybe, once you guys talk about it, and maybe I'll look at it differently. But right now, no, it's blasé to me. All right. Talk to you guys later. Peace and love.
Hey, thank you, Renee, as always.
Thank you.
Voicemail. Yeah, I mean,
You know what I want to say? It's just like Adele Dazeem said, let it go, baby. Just let it go.
I mean, we've discussed it before. It's just like, yes, Maggie has all the right in the world to be like, I do not like this guy, but Rick was the one that kept him alive and locked him up. And I think, while maybe you're not enjoying like seeing it on TV and like in the story, it's like almost kind of like, let's just move that character off. Because I think you're kind of right. In the comic, he went off to basically go live his life with his family.
Right.
And I think didn't Rick or somebody go look for him like much later to try to, I guess, take care of him. But then they just basically was like, I'm just going to let them go. Or something like that. I mean, I know something like that happened in the comic that it kind of put an ending to Negan, and just saying,
I didn't read that far. So
yeah, anyway, so Google it. But so I mean, I can kind of see where it's like, okay, well then this, I'm just not enjoying this character or whatever, and just not to see it anymore. But I mean, I also see that we've talked about, we've seen the redemption arc parts of it, of like Negan's a bad person, but he also like is trying to help and like basically is like picked the winning side and is trying to basically like do what he can to take, give his, pay back with all the bad things that he did. So I mean, it's to each his own, I guess. It's like I've enjoyed it, it's like, so we'll just
I get that. What she's saying. I mean, this is kind of a story that she didn't really want to hear or wasn't looking for. And it had some definite potential, but now she's kind of like, well, I'm not really seeing anything new here. So,
true.
It's not working. And, that in combination with a couple of tropes that we're seeing, it's taking her down, a non-enjoyment kind of road. And I do see that. I mean, like I say, I mean, I liked what I saw here, but I still only gave it an 8, I think, because of things that I didn't see and wanted to see more than what I saw. So I get what she's also saying about like I said in the comments, like, we're recording this on Wednesday, which is a day later than we normally record. And I watched this episode twice, but not until today. Like I didn't watch the episode at all until a few hours before we were going to record. And, around 4 p.m., I'm like, well, I guess I better watch this episode here before we record. So, and then I watch it again right after watching it the first time. But still, like I enjoyed it, but it's not feeling like appointment TV to me. It's feeling like it could be. And, I certainly was quick to watch it the first episode. But it's still way above Fear. Like, cause I still haven't gone back and watched the episodes. I will try to watch them before we conclude this, these 6 here. In fact, I might watch an episode or 2 tonight, but still, it's not doing it for me either. Not like it was.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, it's kind of running out of gas.
Yeah.
That it was doing better in the previous episodes, and this one to me was just kind of fell flat. So that's why I went sub 8 on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's like I say, if this had been like a Negan flashback episode and where it was like maybe 75% or even 50% flashback and 50%, story, I would have liked that better than what we got, which was basically 10% flashback and 90% story. So, that to me means that the story itself isn't really doing it for me. And, like the muse is not working for me. I'm not like really connecting with these Yorkers, too much, and this whole thing about, well, we thought that Negan and Maggie had reached an understanding and it's not there. And maybe we'll get there again by the end of season 1, but it seems so tropey to just like sit there and, bring this right back and, I hate you, Negan. Well, I thought you worked out most of your issues, Maggie, last season, especially in the first half of season 11 there, So I don't get why we're back here. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been my point all along.
exactly. Yeah, we're all in agreement for this, I think.
So let's see what she's got. Oh, well, she sent us a rating, and she's giving it a 5 out of 10. Negan, you had a clean shot. Why didn't you shoot the freaking Croat? Complete with her angry, expletive deleted face. And she goes on to say it was a decent episode, but something is missing, and I'm not feeling this show like I did when it aired. I want it to be action on action, and it was just blasé to me. I think it's so repetitive with villain after villain that I'm just becoming burnout, and they take so long. With taking the villain out, it's become boring. Seriously, I'm over it.
Well, I kind of liked, I will say, I kind of liked the whole Croat as son to Negan daddy kind of vibe, especially, given the age difference there. That's not something that you'd expect, but I certainly did appreciate it. But yes, I think we could have seen this maybe an episode before.
Yeah.
Right.
So I agree with you, Renee. And I've noticed that the word blasé has been mentioned quite a bit this episode. So, it is kind of, we've seen this before kind of thing. We're not getting new territory. This is just kind of things we've seen, maybe not, with these characters, but with other characters. And certainly the tie-in between Negan and Maggie, you killed my husband, and I agree that is something that, maybe Negan's never going to ever make up for.
Right.
In Maggie's eyes. I get that. I really do. But they kind of addressed it, so why are we addressing it again?
I just realized something, and it's only really funny because it's the three of us, that since I used a food analogy before, this is like, instead of spaghetti with meat sauce, this is like elbow macaroni with meat sauce or rotelli with meat sauce. It's still the same thing. It's just a little different, but it's not different enough to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, since it's the three of us, since we do Lower Decks, that's a Dr. Miglimo if ever I heard one. But hey, the soft serve pound cake analogy worked really well. So
yes,
but yeah, it's different, but it ain't different enough to be different.
Yeah. No, and
I mean, it reminds me of the scenes that we had in the past, like like season 11 with Negan and Maggie, going into the city to try to, get to the Reavers or whatever they're called. Reapers, not Reavers.
Yeah,
that's a Firefly thing.
Reavers is Firefly.
Yeah. It was that, and it's also, Sanctuary 2.0. So there's a lot of, like, we've seen this before kind of thing. Yeah. And it isn't that different. Like, I wish we were getting more New York City than we are. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
We need some Central Park
kind of stuff.
No.
Let's do more on the street. Let's do more Central Park. Let's do a little less interior shot that could have been shot anywhere on the freaking planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
let's get the the Empire State Building in on this.
No, I think she does make a good point though, because that is kind of where we're at in this Walking Dead universe. Like, even Robert Kirkman even was saying it's like the story will end whenever it ends with Rick and Carl, because that was the whole point of the comic, was to see them where they go, and where it ends. He always said that it was like, I don't know, but it's like, but like they're the story. So when it ends with when they end, that's when it ends.
Yeah.
But now we're past that, and obviously in the television show, that they're building this. They're going along and keeping this universe, and I've had the same kind of feelings too, where it's like we're already past. Like, we've already seen it all at that point, so it is kind of like that's why I'm hoping the Daryl show is going to be kind of something that's going to help kind of at least bring us new stories. But the thing is, it's changing the setting. Like, we don't know what it's like over in, what it's been like over in France or in the rest of the world. So it's like, I think that would be some still new enough to like give us a new setting, so that we're not like, oh yeah, we're still in Atlanta, or we're still in the forest, or we're still in, even with New York City, but it's like, let's get out of the States. Let's go see other stuff. So I'm hoping that kind of,
that's why they're doing all those dramatic drone shots as Daryl is walking.
Yeah, I just at some point though, but we're at a point that it's like, unless you're going to just start back over and we go back to when the apocalypse starts, which I've kind of also like, I enjoy that. I think as humans and the stories that we've like shows and stuff we see, we like to see humanity be destroyed. So it's like, well, then maybe we just start over, and like maybe it's like a little different. But it just
maybe we need J.J. Abrams to reset the timeline and change the virus or whatever that is creating these zombies, so that they're more menacing, or fast zombies, or
or something different.
Somehow things are different.
Yeah,
because otherwise, it's just more of the same. And maybe we'll see that with the Daryl Dixon thing. Maybe we'll see something different with the Rick and Michonne thing, but it is all the same. And it's like, other than fast forwarding, like some kind of like massive time jump, or some origin story that we haven't seen yet. So it becomes, I don't know, Walking Dead ER or something like that.
Or Grey's
Walking
Anatomy.
Dead.
Grey's Anatomy has been on for like 18 years.
I hope
or whatever.
not.
Walking Dead Special Victims Unit.
Walking Dead, yeah, like Los Angeles 2.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, Boise, Idaho.
Or Walking Dead CSI or something like that, or
Yeah.
It's just something different to reset, like what, maybe we need the Walking Dead Lower Decks or something. I don't know. A sitcom, Negan, it'll be like, Negan be the family man.
Negan
sitcom.
knows best. Negan knows best.
Exactly. Just we need something a little different. Like, I think Tales from the Walking Dead has the potential to be that kind of anthology.
Yep.
Different episode every particular time out, and tell a lot of stories that haven't been told. But I mean, otherwise we're just retreading on the same kind of thing. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the stories have been told at this point.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
All right, well, let's get into, thank you, Renee, as always. Always good feedback. All right, well, I guess next is Dieta from Detroit. Hold on.
I guess I'll say it. Dieta from Detroit says, overall, a great episode. I'm enjoying the series way better than that Fear the Walking Dead crap. Laughing emoji, laughing emoji. I am behind on the podcast, unfortunately. I will catch up eventually. I haven't done feedback due to being out of town on vacation. Vibes on Aruba. Ooh, nice. And then celebrating my wedding anniversary. Oh, good. Then the holiday, so I've been catching up on everything. Upside down emoji. I'm just now understanding what's going on with the show. Was a little confused. Thought that Ginny girl was Negan's daughter at first, but it wasn't. Guessing she's just somebody he found while out looking for supplies. That's basically what she was. I laughed when she made that makeshift raft to cross the ocean in what looked like a tub. Hugging emoji, thinking emoji, shrug emoji, just crazy. So what was the deal with Maggie burning the toy dinosaur? Another thought, during the light in the arena, we saw the whole group of Croat fighters dwindle down to 2 survivors, not including Maggie or Ginny. The walkers attacked and overpowered the rest of the group as if they didn't know how to fight them off, especially with all those new jazzy weapons. Just saying, they went out like a bunch of wussies after surviving this long in the apocalypse. What's in the sewers besides the methane gas? Guess we will see next episode. Rolling over eyes emoji, I think. Is that what that is? Or just looking emoji?
Yeah, like looking. Yeah, looking
emoji.
We'll see.
Times 3.
Yeah, Dieta. They did go out like Wookiees, but that was obviously they needed to thin the cast, so that was one way to do it.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, I'll go next with Ivan from Minnesota, and he said, probably my favorite episode so far with the flashback, group sneaking in, and some good walker action. This series has been good. I was just expecting more. Like, why not include variants? Wasn't that the point of adding them to season 11? Overall, solid, though.
Well, I think we're going to see more variants in the Daryl Dixon show.
What I thought. We're going to get something in this show, and it looks like it's probably going to be more towards the end. Like, we've seen the clips of, like, some walker that has, like, 5 legs or arms or looks all put together.
Find out what, for all the years of them dumping chemicals in the sewers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Mike from Asheville says, could Ginny be a spy of some sort? Some type of long con against Negan? It would tie in with Croat torturing and killing a kid for being a spy. This thought just came to me. I doubt it would be the case, but it's my headcanon for now to make her worth it. And he goes, the Marshal obviously works with Negan based on the preview, so his turn against him this episode was pointless. And he finishes up by saying, sorry this is short, I've been busy and just watched this episode last night. Quite all right, we all understand.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's an interesting point, because obviously what's then the point of Ginny if it's not she a spy, or she just like just going to stand there the whole entire season and just do nothing.
Yeah, just stand and look.
Yep. All right, who wants Glennis?
Glennis from Toronto says, a bit ironic that Maggie now has to protect Ginny after destroying her dino toy. Would have just been better to tell Negan all anyway. I agree. And as a result, the plan takes a sharp left turn because Maggie now keeps having to run after Ginny, which puzzled Negan, finding that ice pick or weapon in the car and no Maggie, which also caused the plan to go haywire for Negan and brought the confrontation with the Croat up sooner than planned. Maggie was going to tell Negan about Ginny, but seeing evidence that Negan had killed Luther gave her pause, but Negan was forced to kill Luther. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to carry out the plan to rescue Herschel. So Negan was really helping Maggie by staying on track with the rescue plan. Exactly. That's my take on it as well. And, it was one of those like, well, I have to tell you something, but I'm really not going to. And, plot advancement kind of thing. So, let me start again. All those walkers surrounding and swarming through all entry points into the stadium and towards the fight cage with the walker attraction music blaring, all set in motion by the Croat. It seems the group that are helping Negan and Maggie rescue Herschel have a traitor or spy in their midst who is feeding their info into the Croat. I don't know. Do you think that's what's going on?
I mean, the spy thing, or just like the Croat getting information, would make sense of why he was so prepared for them to show up. So,
yeah,
he's getting his information from somewhere, obviously, because he was ready. So,
yeah, he definitely was. Negan saving Armstrong, which Croat was taken aback by, as I think the Croat was really genuinely wanting Negan to join him and to just let Armstrong die. Not cool. Armstrong to still arrest Negan for his so-called crimes after he's just saved your life. You are indeed a dick. Negan would surely like to put you on the fence back at the sanctuary with all the other walker pricks.
Yeah, that just was very out of sorts after everything that's gone on, that he's just like, oh, no, we're going to arrest you. And it's like, really? Better things to do.
Like I expect him to change, and, like we said, we have seen scenes that would seem to indicate that, but still, I mean, come on. It's like, really?
Right.
Really now?
All right. Well, that was everybody's feedback that we got for this week. Unless you guys have anything else to add.
No.
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
I think that's about it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, then that takes us into our news, ratings, and info.
There's a couple weird stories on the news.
All right, Brian. I don't know if you got any other outside rating info or anything like that. I pulled these from Wikipedia, so
okay,
that's really all I got.
Just the page. I don't think that there's anything beyond that. It just says it got a 0.15 rating in the 18 to 49 with 697,000 viewers. Was up slightly from last week's 0.14. So it was up like 7.14%. In the viewers last week, it got 681,000 and 0.14. So it was up like 2.35% from last week, according to tvseriesfinale.com, which seems to be the only place that we can find ratings now.
Yeah.
When it comes to Parrot Analytics, I did get some information there. The show is at a 17.3 times the demand of an average show after the last 30 days. So that's going up quite a bit, 210.2% change in the last 30 days. So that's good. It puts it in the outstanding group at 2.7% of all shows. It's in the 100 percentile. I don't know what that is supposed to be. I think it's drama, but it doesn't say it in the actual thing. And it is 100% available throughout the United States, so every market can get it. The Walking Dead right now is at a 47.2 times the demand of an average show over the last 30 days. Pretty steady, just up 0.8%. It is 100% drama performance, and again, available in 100% of all markets right now, of course. So, is all of season 11 available on Netflix now? I haven't looked, but I think it might be.
I feel like I heard. I haven't actually checked on. I haven't been on Netflix in a while, but
yeah,
it's.
I let my membership lapse and haven't brought it back yet. So
yeah, I get mine through for T-Mobile, so it's. But I mean, I think Black Mirror is on, and I won't be able to watch a couple episodes. So
yeah,
I had a chance. All right. Well, is anybody else? LT, do you have any news to share or anything you've heard of?
The only thing that I heard is that if I didn't mention it already, they did announce the name of the Rick and Michonne show, and it's The Walking Dead Rick and Michonne.
Wow. They really.
Wow. So all this time we were ahead of the curve. We were right, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed the Rick and Michonne show.
I guess I keep it simple.
And it's the same for the Daryl Dixon show. It's called Daryl Dixon. So thank you for your very original names.
Yeah, but then they call this one Dead City. Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dead City's a great name.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, was it Maggie?
I don't mind the names.
Yeah, no, it works for what it is. We know. Yeah, it is like. Anyways, we'll just move. We'll move on. All right. Well, LT, do you want to tell people how to interact with us?
Yes. We want to encourage you to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Walking Dead TTM. To submit your theories and feedback, most people post in the designated episode thread in our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/WalkingDeadTTM. You can send us email. That's walkingdead@talkthroughmedia.com. You can also use the feedback forum on our webpage. That's talkthroughmedia.com/feedback. If you'd like to leave us voicemail, you can call area code 216-232-6146. Remember that all of our new episodes are out on YouTube. Just search for Talk Through Media and remember to subscribe and click that bell to get notified when we have new videos. We also want you to like and review the Talk Through Media Facebook page at facebook.com/talkthroughmedia. Of course, the absolute best way you can support us is through our Patreon. That's www.patreon.com/walkingdeadtalkthrough. And we'd like to thank all of our Patreon supporters: Renee Murray, Deetta Patterson, Mike Rollo, me, and Kyle McAdams.
Yay!
Remember that Deetta, Renee, Mike, Kyle, and LT will both be getting an early version of the episode this week.
I already got it.
So did I. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or the podcast client of your choice. While you're there, give us a rating or a review. You can also leave us a review at podchaser.com. You can rate individual episodes or the whole podcast. And remember to share our posts on Facebook and Twitter when we post them, or tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to get us new listeners.
All right. So, Brian, what else can be listened to on our network?
We, of course, have the Rebinged DS9 podcast going strong in season 7. James and Kim are recording that, and we'll be transitioning to Voyager at some point in the next, several weeks. LT and I are recording the Star Trek Strange New Worlds talk through. So far, we have 2 episodes that have been released. covering the first 2 episodes. We have recorded episodes for episodes 3 and 4. They are still to be released. I've gotten a little bit behind on the editing. Had some issues actually getting, like, I'm running out of space on this computer that I'm recording on, and it's causing, I'm also having some issues getting files off of my recorder. I'm having to jump through hoops trying to do that. So the only way I can seem to get the files off right now is if I transfer them to my new laptop. I'm trying to do it different ways, and for some reason the file transfer fails in the middle. So that seems to be the only way I can do it. So there might be a little bit of a delay on those episodes. Kyle, I will try to get the files for tonight off right after we're done, but it's being a little bit difficult for me.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it for this, but we will be continuing to cover Star Trek Strange New World Season 2. And then when the Lower Decks comes out, we will be covering Season 4. So
Yay. All right, cool. All right, well, let's go on.
And of course, we will still be covering whatever they throw at us for Walking Dead.
Well, yes. And that's, we haven't heard of any, and like, yeah, when stuff's going to start, but they were teasing basically like, oh yeah, like Fear, like the finale of whatever. Like, I think they even said it's like, oh, stream it now. And then Daryl Dixon.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like Daryl Dixon's going to be, coming out this fall. So we'll be probably covering that, I imagine, after Fear ends. That's,
we'll just,
we
just need
I'm
some
assuming
dates.
I'm assuming that we're going to see Fear coming, shortly after this is over, maybe a week or 2 off or something, or maybe there'll be overlap. I don't know, but, we'll probably see it coming in August, and then we'll get to Daryl Dixon in probably October. So that's my take.
Because I have Harvest, so the later the better. I'll be less busy.
Yep. And just remember, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have all of your Walking Dead goodness right here. Same zombie time, same zombie channel.
Yep.
Yes.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll be on Fear for the second half. So.
Nope, hope so.
And I'll eventually watch the episodes that I haven't seen yet.
And if you don't, it's okay. Like it might.
No, I will. Like I say, I just have to get to it. So
yeah, just binge through it quickly. Oh, all right. Well, the next episode of The Walking Dead: Dead City, Season 1, Episode 4 is titled "Stories We Tell Ourselves," written by Brennan. What's that? Kof. Directed by Ganja Montero. Description from YouTube TV says truths are unearthed and motives are revealed as Maggie, Negan, and the others travel further into the city's depths. All right. So until next time.
Is that ganja or is that?
I don't know. That's
Gandia.
Ganja. I'll figure it out for next time.
Yeah, man.
So until next time, I'm Kyle.
And I'm LT.
And I'm Brian.
And this is The Walking Dead Talk Through. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.